in hopes that we wouldn't say it first, but truth must be told. Let's get it, baby. Young TV.
And the ancestors are looking out for us. God Hayes is exposing them, man.
Okay, you see that chair right there? See how big it is?
Yeah.
Now look at the Pope chair under it. Scroll down, look at the Pope chair under
Never have it been made so clear.
Young TV. Young.
We running the game right now.
Young TV.
Time to take over.
Young
We the hottest in the game. Hit that like, hit that subscribe button. If you just not tuned in.
TV.
Share, like on your Instagram, Facebook.
Young TV.
If you tuned in, we broadcasting live from 2030, baby.
Young TV. Young
Taking over the game, baby. Oh yeah.
Young TV.
Hit that like.
Young TV.
Get them likes up in the air, you heard me?
Young TV.
Ride by. Hotel Islam.
Young TV.
Assalamu alaikum. Shalom alaikum. Peace be
Young
unto you.
TV.
Hit that like.
Hey, y'all, we're going to give them time to get in here. This is important. This is an important tape right here, man. Because it's dealing with Doc. It's dealing with Larry. It's dealing with Jeff. Right? And even Big Meech. Because people say, oh, yeah, Big Meech shouldn't be mentioned in the same sentence with the other brothers because Big Meech is considered as a tyrant because of, he was doing, what they consider to be negative, moving the stuff, But get them in here, man. This is going. We got a playlist called Free Malachi York playlist, where it got all the stuff dealing around Bible's case inside of that file for those people who's working on those files. Now we spoke with one of the sons of Malachi. We ain't gonna say his the guy's name or who we spoke with, but we spoke with one of Malachi's sons, and he mentioned the RICO. And so that made us go in a little bit more on breaking down the RICO and how it's a bunch of game. And the stuff that we about to get ready to share our screen. But keep in mind, all the stuff I'm about to show is what happened to Doc, right? And it's different angles we could go at this, but this is one angle I'm going to show you about how they use the RICO to set up Doc and take him down. And Larry and Jeff, right? In this game that they run. Now, keep in mind, they tell you that religion is separate from state, right? And if when they bring religion up in the court, that it violates the First Amendment right. Now, number one thing they violated was Bible's First Amendment right. Now, I ain't gonna go too. I'm gonna go more into Doc's tying it into Doc case because Doc is our master teacher, and Rod he deals with Larry is his chief, and so on and so on. Jeff Ford, but we represent as outlaw chiefs. We represent all the chiefs on the land, and so that's why we speaking for all chiefs. But I'm really gonna be talking more dealing around Doc's case because it's a lot of stuff that because we've been more looking into Doc case, right? But I'm gonna go also look into Larry case and Jeff and all the rest, but I'm dealing with Doc first, right? And so in the case of Dr. Malachi Z York, the first thing that they broke on Doc was his First Amendment right, which is freedom to religion. And if you go back and listen to the tapes we put out called How Dr. Malachi Z York got set up, Doc tell you in one of them tapes that they used the holy tablets as like almost like evidence. They used it as evidence to use against Doc. So keep in mind, under the First Amendment, you got freedom to religion. So you can have a pile of dog crap can be your God, and you can worship that and have that as a God, and that's your freedom under the First Amendment. Your God can be a statue, whatever your God is. You know what I'm saying? Your God can be James Brown, and that can be James Brown can be a religion for you, and you have that right under the First Amendment. Elvis Presley is a religious to some people. They dress like him. They go to Hollywood. They want to be like him. They got all this tapes and things, and it's a religion to them, and they got that right under the First Amendment. The Satanic Church. The Satanic Church and the Satanic temples and all the people that claim that they worship Satan have that right under the First Amendment, right? So keep that in mind when they brought the holy tablets into the court and admit that as evidence for the jury. That's an automatic violation of his First Amendment right. Right? Now the next thing they did, let me share my screen. We're gonna get more into it because a lot of this stuff happened to Larry and them too. And keep in mind about COINTELPRO operations going on and still existing. Right now to this day, they just changed their name when they started getting all got busted. They changed their name when they got busted, right? Let's see if we're sharing our screen here. Okay. Let's look at this. Now, what we going in with Doc is what they call a federal habeas corpus, right? A federal habeas corpus is a legal process that allows a federal court to review the legalities of an individual incarceration. It's often used after direct appeals and any available state collateral reviews, right? So we going at this is what we overall looking at, right? A prisoner can file a federal habeas corpus petition to overturn a conviction or sentence and claim that their imprisonment violates federal laws, right? So this is the overall. This ain't the overall thing, but it's a key pivot point into understanding. Let me get the chat so I can see what's going on. When we talking about helping Doc as far as this angle, right? Now, keep in mind, in order to be RICO, you gotta be a U.S. citizen, really, because RICO only applied to U.S. citizens. It's part of the corporate. Keep in mind, United States is a corporation. United States is a business, and just so happened that they matter of fact, let's get this first before we go into that. Now, keep in mind, for the people that know, keep in mind about what the RICO is all about. And keep in mind, like I say, United States Corps refiled after they got rid of Lincoln up in Puerto Rico. The World Boxing League is stationed out of Puerto Rico. And if you look up, they say it's owned by private corporations. I mean, private shareholders. And we wonder who those private shareholders are. But keep in mind, what year was the RICO started? And keep in mind the correlations and who we're dealing with. This is a conjure war. We're dealing with alchemists. And the RICO started in 1970. For all those people that follow Dr. York, you know how significant the year 1970 is. They created the RICO Act in 1970. Keep that in mind. Right? And it's for, federal laws that were passed in 1970 to combat organized crime. So originally it was set up, they say, to go after the mob. right? But then they saw how they could use that to come after pretty much the COINTELPRO reiterates the COINTELPRO operations. So COINTELPRO operations didn't stop; it just became the RICO, the new RICO Act. You know what I'm saying? They just and keep in mind, an act is not law. Acts only exist inside of U.S. courts. Acts are not laws. They tell you that acts are laws, right? Because it's law to a citizen, a so-called law-abiding citizen, but it ain't law to somebody that don't that's not a part of their system. It's just the act, right? So you got for 95% of the thing, you got to be a part of U.S. courts in order to be brought in on the RICO, unless they can prove that major injury based on what you did. We can get into that too. Now, before we go more into the RICO, another right that they violated of Barbers was they violated his 4th Amendment rights. They violated his 5th Amendment right. They violated his 6th Amendment right, and they violated his 8th Amendment right. So all the amendments that were for the lawyers, like the lawyer that's supposed to be working on the case. I'm pretty sure they should know all of this, but they violated his 1st Amendment right, his 4th Amendment right, his 5th Amendment right, his 6th Amendment right, and his 8th Amendment right, because they tortured him into a plea agreement. The federal government tortured Malachi into a plea agreement. Okay, that's a violation of the 8th Amendment right. Okay, but let me show you this. The Bradley violation. Right? This is COINTELPRO tactics called withholding the evidence. Now keep in mind, anytime Doc came up with some evidence to prove his innocence, like the testimony of what's the brother name? Damian Pryor. And keep in mind, we still Damian Pryor, man, you ain't off the hook, brother. We ain't forgot. Because you know something. And people say somebody said leave Damian Pryor alone. Nigga, we ain't leaving Damian Pryor alone, because he ain't said nothing about he out here talking on different YouTube channels and shit, and he ain't said nothing about what happened with Doc and that paperwork. And he said he got the original paperwork. So we ain't letting him off the hook. You ain't off the hook, Damian Pryor. So that's another angle though. We'll talk about that later. But the Bradley violation is where the COINTELPRO, mainly Richard Moultries, and we can get into him, Joe Lane, and all these FBI agents who withheld evidence. And we're gonna get into how they use witness intimidation. And we got the affidavits for the lawyers that working on the case. We got the affidavits to prove that they use witness intimidation. Inside of Tariq Noel's file, or Tariq Noel's recantment statement, he says that he was intimidated and harassed by the agents. He said he was harassed by the agents. So that's automatic. We're gonna get into that witness intimidation. Hold on, but let me talk about the Bradley violation first. Now, the Bradley violation is what we got him at too in Doc's case, because a lot of evidence and stuff that they were using didn't hold up in court, like the pillow case. We found out the pillow case wasn't even the right pillow case because the lady had changed it out. A lot of evidence that they were using was supposed to be inadmissible, but they kept it as admissible. And keep in mind, they put they took Doc under the state RICO, right, with Georgia, because Georgia's the one that's one of the main states that's running this RICO, right, to get rid of certain people off the land. We'll get into that. But they put Doc up at the state, and then when they saw that all the witnesses that they had their story wasn't straight and they wasn't gonna hold up in court, they say, oh, we got to push it up to federal court and RICO them, because we ain't gonna be able to win in state court. even with the jury rig, they had the jury rig, and it still wasn't good enough to convince. And keep in mind, they kept this case closed from the public because they knew that they were going to violate all of his rights. Every right that they could think of that he had: First Amendment right, his Fourth Amendment right, his Fifth Amendment right, his Sixth Amendment right, his Eighth Amendment right. They violated all those rights, and they used the Bradley violation. And they used fruits of a poisonous tree. We'll get into that too. Right? But different things like certain they said he had videos. They had no videos with Doc in them. They had no pictures with Doc in them as far as like pornographic pictures. And the pornography tapes that they found, those were tapes that supposedly was tied with Jacob York. It ain't had nothing to do with Doc. They said they found some stuff on the land. And then we're gonna get into how they use all this as a RICO. It's how they trying to do Diddy right now. Even though we know Diddy gives you a lot of shit. But a lot of the stuff they're accusing Diddy of is just so they can RICO him. A lot of the stuff they, baby oil and this and that, but they said that baby oil was something else. You know what I'm saying? They get into all that. But what I'm saying is, in court, Doc come up, if somebody like Jacob York. Jacob York not being able to testify violates the Brady. It's a Brady violation because Jacob York is a key instrument in taking down, putting Bob in there. And Jacob York could be a key instrument in getting Bob out. Because if Jacob York flip and tell what he really did, and he already really did in subliminal ways, we got him on tape saying that he set up the Florida trip. We got him on tape saying that these people receive favorable concessions from the government through Jacob York because he helped them get apartments. He helped them get apartments and jobs and get into the system. Why? Because when they were people that were born on the land didn't really have birth certificates and things like that. So with the help of the government, Jacob York helped all the people that was testifying against Doc, who went down to Florida, who participated in this game, right? Jacob York gave them favorable concessions from the government. Bribes. That's bribery. That's what you call bribery. That's against the law. The government bribing, using a pawn who is Jacob York, Yaqub Muhammad is one of his names. People might know him as Yaqub Muhammad, right? The trickster, the underminer, the usurper. Yeah, Jacob York, if you listening, you can get Doc out. All you gotta do is go publicly and tell the whole fucking game. Jacob York can expose the whole game. And truth of the matter is, to me, based on my third eye, I don't believe you hate Doc as much as you say. I don't believe he hate Doc as much as he say, y'all. I believe he love him more than anybody. Somebody that go out and hate somebody like that, they love him more than anybody. Because you know why? The truth is that hate is not the exact opposite of love. Fear is. Fear is the true and exact opposite of love. So you can hate some people that usually hate somebody so much, they usually love them. So much that they hate them because they don't want to bend to what they want. It's called cognitive dissonance. Right? Check this out. So they violated the Bradley violation. They documents that could negatively reflect on the witness credibility, like the right here it says right here, well highlighted right here, right where it says the documents that could negatively reflect on the witness credibility. They had letters that Tariq Noels wrote to his sister and his mother that could have been put into evidence, and they did bring those letters up, right? But the government shut those out. The letters that Tariq Noels, the suicide notes and shit that he wrote about that he didn't want to go along with this but the government was forcing him to do it. Why? Because his mother, Barbara Noels, was going down for check fraud and doing scams on house fraud with Jacob York and Damian Pryor. Right? So that's witness intimidation. Right? We got what we got? Charges against the police informants. Yeah. All right, so Bradley violation. You got pending charges against police informants. So Tariq Noel's sister, her name is Amanda Noel's, and the one that really was instrumental, Lopez. Lopez, right? Her name is Nikki Lopez. Nikki Lopez had pending charges in Baltimore, and she was used as a police informant to testify against Baba. That's the Bradley violation. Anybody that had prior crimes, really, they can't even use an informant that got prior crimes already to get out their crimes. That's part of the Bradley violation. So just by Nikki Lopez being able to go in court and testify against Doc, they violated the Bradley violation, because they if you go look up, she had prior crimes in Baltimore, and pretty much for the same thing that I think she got caught on molestation in Baltimore, and then they use her because this where it's come in. It's a thing called illegal entries. The COINTELPRO RICO have a thing called illegal entries. These illegal entries, right, is what when they hire informants who got prior crimes to infiltrate an organization to commit those crimes, so that they can later use that as part of the RICO. Because keep in mind, it's a criminal. They're saying it's a criminal organization, and the main object is to take down the leader, right? So overstanding the RICO, overstanding that the RICO is really hard to beat if you're a leader, because you don't know what everybody doing. If you got 2 million members, you don't know what everybody doing, and somebody in that out of that 2 million is a black devil. At least 50% of them or 30% of them are black devils doing something negative outside. That's how they was able to get in with the Nation of Islam. That's how they was able to take down Malcolm X, because there's somebody that rolled with you that got skeletons in their closet, and the FBI know that, so they gonna use that as leverage, right? Also, Damian Pryor, who supposedly turned and was going to testify against, and he did testify against Jacob York, but they used the Bradley. They Bradley violated that and said, oh yeah, that one admissive, because we can't technically prove Jacob York was involved. When a lot of the witnesses said that Jacob York was involved, like Habiba Washington, and we got testimonies of the witnesses saying that Jacob York was the main instrumental guy. And okay, all right. Hold on, Rod. Let me send you the link. I'm gonna send Rod. Hold on, y'all. Let me send Rod this link real quick. I think my brother Rod finna come on. And I know they violated Larry rights too. But like I say, but I'm really instrumental in breaking down Doc case and then showing these lawyers that finna work on this. Hold on. Invite. Hold on, y'all. Let's see if I can hold on, y'all. Let me see if I can let Rod up in here. Let's see right here. Hey, Rob Bob, if you coming into the page right now, man, hit that like, hit that subscribe button. Oh, here you go right here.
What's going on, Al?
Hey, Rob Bob, man, I've been studying the different things that ain't RICO, because like I said, I talked to a brother, one of Malachi's sons, and he just said, hey, well, we focus on looking into the RICO. So that's what made me go and do more research on the RICO. And I'm starting to find out that it's part of COINTELPRO operations, and that it's different things that they violated in these federal cases that we could use as a federal habeas corpus. And like I say, one of them things is the Bradley violation, because people ain't understanding the tactics of COINTELPRO about the different, like the witness tampering, the witness harassment. What else they got? They do they did favorable concessions, which is bribery, where they pay, because Jacob York received favorable concessions from the government, and he admits to this. We got this all on tape. We got this all on tape in the Malachi file. And then not only that, they violated his First Amendment right, freedom of religion, using the holy tablets as evidence. right? And then they did Fourth Amendment, Fifth Amendment, and Sixth Amendment, and Eighth Amendment, which is torture. They tortured them. And I know a lot of this stuff connect with Larry as well. It connects with Larry because they use the same tactics on all the people. They all in the same prison. They use all these same tactics.
Pump brakes a minute, Elder.
So what you say?
You talk about a RICO case, right?
Yeah, go ahead.
Racketeering and corrupt organizations. And the way that the law is structured, in the way we don't have rights under the Constitution like people believe we do.
Go ahead.
We were not included in the Constitutional Convention that drew up the American Constitution, which is a business rollout of how you under the control of the government. The Constitution is not to control people; it's to control government. Everybody keep forgetting that government is interim. That means they here temporarily to serve or render a purpose, right? So they use the La Cosa Nostra, La Familia from Spain and from Italy in order to understand tribal structures. If you set up a tribe, anything that you do is illegal under their system. They just have to figure out a way how to move you because it's warfare. They don't want you to know it's warfare. Long as we think we included under the protections of the control of government by the Constitution, we lost already.
Right.
That don't got nothing to do with us.
Yeah.
All right.
Hey, go ahead.
So this interim government that went rogue over the people can only stay in power by usurping the organic leadership of the people.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, now, how do you do that? First of all, you convince them to lobby for a vote. When you see the people who's rounding up the people to vote, and you know they got royal rank as a chief in this land, you got to give them some kind of benefit because they can control. They telling you with the vote how many people they can control by the people that's pushing their agenda. But when you don't vote and you're not part of the let me control you voting block, you become classified as a rogue nation, outlaw tribe, wild, wild west. You are lawless under the corporation.
Right.
So the corporation using RICO to break families up. RICO is to take the wealth from the family so that anybody that was benefiting from your position, they season their assets. That's the purpose of RICO.
That's right. Go ahead, Rod.
Right. RICO is always supposed to be accompanied by a conspiracy charge.
Go ahead.
There's 5 elements to conspiracy in law. Right. The critical thing about a conspiracy, if 2 people agree to go to the store, they are in a conspiracy to go to the store. Think about that for a minute. You and your homeboy about to go to the store. Y'all are conspiring to go to the store. Even if you're going to get you some backwoods, a Pepsi, or whatever you're going to get. When you made the agreement, you met all other so you got to have more than one actor, right? First element of conspiracy is you can't be a conspiracist on your own.
Go ahead.
You got to have a rappy, a co-defendant, other parties implemented in order for the term conspiracy to meet the first element, which is more than one person. Second element is had a meeting. They just call it the meeting of the minds is the second element. That means that somebody came together to come up with an agreement, right? Once you got the meeting of the minds and the agreement is the third element, what did they agree to do? Right? The fourth element is not even an element, but it's a determining factor of who is all inclusive under the first two. The fourth one say the co-conspirators can enter in and out of the conspiracy at different times as long as the underlying person, meaning the head of the conspiracy, remains the same. They are all guilty of conspiracy. Okay, then the fifth element is called an overt act. Right? That means that somebody made one step toward capitalizing on the goal.
Right.
Anybody that attempt to win against the system, they are all in that conspiracy together.
Damn.
So from the time the first activists from the tribes stepped out and said, we're going to come up with an alternate means of overthrowing a jurisdictional supremacy of an interim government, because first you have to know what is their foundational determination to them maintaining interim power.
Yeah.
And Noble Drew Ali gave us the answer. I'm gonna leave these people in power long enough for you to learn how to run a government. Why we didn't learn how to why we didn't know how to run a government when Noble Drew Ali came?
Right.
Because we had been in war and they had killed off all of the competent leadership.
Go ahead.
So now we have to rebuild competent leaders from the grassroots level. And somebody has to control how these people moving on the land, even if it ain't us, until we can get to the position where we can run our own government, tribal networking. Right? They know that if at any given time we figure out how their government systems operate to control us, we can dissent with the agreement of the collective to dissolve the fraudulent corporation. Right? So they're using RICO to keep you financially impotent in the pursuit of liberation from the corporation.
Right.
Right. The COINTELPRO was looking for the one.
Right.
Right. And everybody that they arrested, they said Charles Manson was the one.
Right.
He got wrapped up under COINTELPRO too.
Go ahead.
They say Joseph Senku was the one. And they trained him to go against Manson in the race war, and they both went rogue when they got out of prison.
Hey, did they RICO Manson too?
They didn't RICO. No, they didn't RICO. He didn't have assets.
Okay. Yeah. So
They
you
never
RICO when you
accused.
got assets.
They didn't. Yeah, they didn't accuse him of racketeering, right? Which is any means that you can make money as living off the fat of the land. They call that a racket.
Yeah. Hey, okay. Let me ask you this. Did they RICO? We know they RICO Doc, because people think that Doc is Dr. Malachi Z York is in jail for molestation. That's what they promote online. Doc is not in jail for molestation. He's in jail for RICO. Yeah. Yeah. So they telling you, oh, he got 135 counts.
But
They
see,
making up a whole bunch of bullshit.
Okay, so now that's called a collateral attack in the judicial system. They attacking his character with the false child molestation allegations, right? And as long as people accepting
right.
the false narrative that's assassinating character, they call that hanging in effigy. If you look up hanging in effigy, it is literally to kill your character in the public spotlight, like they doing Diddy right now. Whether he right or whether he wrong, good, bad, or indifferent, the example remains the same. See, they used to be able to look, yeah, they used to be able to sacrifice the innocent, Malachi, in order to allow the guilty to roam free and continue their tyranny. As long as the focus is on the false allegations against Malachi, nobody's going to pay attention to Liar Cohen, Jimmy Iovine, Ted Fields, Clive Davis. We ain't going to never pay them no attention because they dangling a priest of the land as if he was a priest from one of their churches in front of us, and they using the gossip channel. We got the gossip channel is the lowest form of information, and none of it needs to be verified for it to be passed around like the plague. They know that we operate from the gossip angle because the women used to use the gossip circle to get critical information across the battlefield. And that's why everybody know, don't tell Gladys what you don't want the world to know. Because soon as you tell Gladys, she's going to tell everybody she know. Right? So the gossip circle, if you can come up with some juicy dirt, will keep that in the forefront of the people's mind, because now you got somebody to condemn, but you ain't seeing the right person. They sacrificed Michael Jackson for trying to protect the kids in Hollywood from what he went through. Right? But everybody think Mike touching kids now. You can't tell them otherwise because the media did a good job of hanging him in effigy. But when you figure out what's really going on, it starts to make sense. And now the gossip starts to go to a mumble, and critical information take over the gossip circles then. Critical information about what we've been lied about. So that's why we put it in the public domain with the receipts, so people can know what we're talking about and they can go look it up and prove it. So now the gossip is, we know who he is. Right? So RICO was a companion to the Rex 84, right? Rex 84, Readiness Exercise 1984, was given in 1984. But when you look at the list of the politicians that was active in DC in 1970, you know, and then you look at who was active in 84, it's about 75% of the same people.
Damn.
So they know what they're doing.
Yeah, go ahead.
They know what they're doing. They're giving you a rollout to corral as many people under a misleading piece of information as they can. Because as long as they can keep misleading everybody, then nobody can correct the course, because nobody's going to listen to the one that's trying to tell you to go the right way, because the gossip is too juicy to follow on the dirty path.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why they have to do all of these different strategies and tactics, but we not recognizing it for what it is. It's warfare.
Right.
Soon as we realize that it's warfare, it takes a different dynamic, because now you have to rely on the ones who study warfare to tell you how the war being fought.
Right.
And it's being fought in front of your face. Like all that water didn't come from that hurricane.
Damn, so right now no mountains.
Look, they said 2 bridges collapsed. They blew them bridges, just same way they did in Katrina.
Mm-hmm.
They keep doing the same thing. Every time they start to lose, they throw a tantrum and cause mass casualty events. I said this 6 months ago, beware the mass casualty events, they coming.
Mm-hmm.
Pay attention to the weather and pay attention to the so-called terrorist alert.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Then we got a mothership been sitting out here since March and ain't nobody reported on it yet. The Pentagon said it.
Right? I heard that.
And Harvard said it. I'm when I do my post, I'm gonna put it up. But it's been sitting there. It's just sitting there. Now, people then took videos of it with using this cloud cloaking device. But you can see the bright ass lights through the cloud.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But we don't know what it is because we don't know if the government running the psychological operation on us or if it's somebody there. So if they really there, they need to get your attention. In order to get your attention, they just let the people do what they want to do to you and to get you focused on that. And then they make, okay, now this is what's really going on.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So they use the different laws. Look, when they came out with RICO, this is when George Herbert Walker Bush, as a oil tycoon, was bringing tons and tons of cocaine on oil barges from Central and South America because the oil barges that he owned was able to bypass customs inspections.
Yeah, that's right. Texas.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so now while he's doing that, he's knowing where he's about to put all this dope. This is when it was just the late night thing, everybody popping Quaaludes.
Yeah,
and
the rock and roll party.
And snorting snorting powder all night.
In Arkansas with Bill Clinton and there was the other dude named their pilot they had, his pilot, George Bush pilot.
Now remember, Bill Clinton's CIA is codenamed the Snowman.
Right.
He from Arkansas.
Go ahead.
He the Snowman from Arkansas.
Go ahead.
Let that sink in for a minute.
Barry Seal, that's his name. SAR 205. Barry Seal was the pilot working for Bush and Clinton. They had him whacked, allegedly, for YouTube purposes.
The Behold the Pale Horse gave the whole blueprint of the march of George Herbert Walker Bush.
Go ahead.
You got to remember, whatever you seen in the beginning of America, you have to see at the fall of America.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And when you go back to the judicial system and the Bar Association, you trace back to 1863.
Mm-hmm.
King George and his decree telling them to take everything from us using the law.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This is instructions to barristers, right? You can show the people how to look it up if you want to, Elder, while we're on here. Go to Google, type in First Charter Bar Association, Savannah, Georgia. Once you know what they're doing, you can now mentally prepare yourself to defend it.
Hey, so you say first charter for what?
Savannah Bar Association, 1860, put 62 in there. But it's between 1862 to 64. It was King George, I think the second or third that issued it.
Lawyers were not. Hold on, 17. Damn. Is it 1732 you said, or what?
Yeah, I'm saying 18, but that's sound about right.
1884. The Georgia Bar Association was founded in 1884, but was a voluntary organization. In 1964, the State Bar of Georgia was established to replace Georgia's Bar Association. State
Okay,
bar go.
go back to the first paragraph.
The lawyers are not allowed to colonize of Georgia when it was first chartered in 1732. The charter started that lawyers. The charter stated that lawyers, Rome, slaves, and papists were all prohibited.
Yeah.
However,
So
the trustees of Georgia were given the power to establish courts of record and judication.
yeah,
The first court in the colony, the town courts of Savannah, opened in 1733.
right.
This the one you're
So
looking for?
yeah, so this is when the first court under their corporate system opened, but the first bar charter was issued by King George III because they was operating in a rogue capacity because they didn't have permission from the crown to practice law. Back then, the chief, the full feather chief, could walk into the courtroom and tell them he's not under your jurisdiction and leave with you. Once they established the bar association, under King George III, he gave them their instructions. And their instructions was to use the law to steal everything from us. It's in the charter.
Then so it started in Georgia. Man, that's connect. That's a connection there. That's something about
Because it's
that's a connection.
King George Washington. Think about it. King George and George Washington.
Yeah.
We know that the George Washington was the fraud. The character they gave us in the history books with the wooden teeth was Adam Weishaupt.
Yeah.
But the doctrine or the blueprint they follow is under Albert Pike, the morals and the dogma.
Right.
You use the dogma to cloud the morals in order to confuse the people about the jurisdictional order.
Okay. Okay.
Right? So when they know they operating in a rogue capacity and they have to do, we have no rights under their system because it's not the tribal system. So what's the remedy in law? Right? The first part of the remedy is fraud vitiates all contracts. There's no statute of limitations on the discovery of fraud. Right? So we discovered that they never honored the treaty and none of us signed them. Ain't no chief running feather name on none of them treaties.
Oh, that's what I'm gonna ask you, Rod. That brings a question when you said that. Now I noticed I never see the people that got Native American status that they say I never see them in court for a RICO. They never RICO'd in court.
Every time you see one of us sitting there for a RICO, you seen them natives in there under RICO.
Yeah. I know what you're saying with that. Like I know what you're saying. Like Doc is a native and he was a chief, right? But I'm saying like for the people that they say, oh yeah, well he a native. The government they agree with Doc on paperwork.
Well, you gotta remember the ones they got that they recognize, about 75% of them is on a reservation.
Yeah, $5 Indians. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I don't never see no $5 Indians in court for RICO because they not part of the United States. They not. It says that when I looked it up, it said that you got to be a citizen.
The federal government have law enforcement jurisdiction on all reservations.
Go ahead.
That's part of the reservation treaties.
Yeah.
Is that the federal government can come on the reservation at any time, but the state government can't do it.
But it's still so like a sheriff can come on their land, but
no, sheriff can't come. It got to be a U.S. Marshal.
Oh yeah,
we got to be U.S. Marshal or Federal Bureau of Investigations. It cannot be county sheriffs. It cannot be state troopers. It has to be federal government.
Now let me ask you this. So what's the difference between? Okay, so the federal government that's still part of the United States Corps, right?
Yep, that's the controlling arm of the corporation. The treaties is what give them sole jurisdiction over the reservations. The treaties, the reservation treaties. It's in the treaties that the federal government can come and regulate the tribe in under the pretense of criminal activity, of course. But they can come onto the reservation. But the local law enforcement has no jurisdictional authority on the reservation, right? That's a treaty that they gave them when they set them up on the reservations. The reservations was to keep them on reserve in case we don't remember who we is, and then they can replace us with them.
Damn.
We not finna be replaced.
No.
We irreplaceable, right? And now, so what's the next remedy in law? Grandfather clause. What's the grandfather clause? You want to pull it up?
Let's go ahead. And so I
So-
wonder, while I'm looking this up, so they also with they saying that the head of the organizations, like they labeled Larry as the leader of the gangster disciples. So that means that anybody that's a gangster disciple, and if they do a criminal, they can blame Larry for it. So if a dude killed a guy,
it's called continuation of the criminal enterprise.
yeah. So
And
go ahead.
Larry already was holding the position under duress, but none of his legal teams had brought the duress aspect up. That they told him, "You're gonna be the chief, you're gonna run this, or you're gonna die." Them was his two options. They needed his leadership skills. So my thing is, the ones that threaten to kill him if he don't run it is the ones who keeping him in prison.
Right.
You know.
Right. It says the grandfather clause is a legal provision that allows existing activities to continue under an old rule while a new rule applies to future cases. The term comes from the discriminatory voting laws in the South after the Civil War that exempt people whom grandfathers voted before the war for literacy, testing, and other requirements to vote.
Okay. So now it's telling you that the origin of it comes from the South. That means it's tribal. It came from the Iroquois Confederacy.
Go ahead.
The grandfather clause state that if there is a law that pre-existed the current system that has not been ruled or overturned by a superior jurisdiction, the oral tradition of the land has never been in dispute and has been adopted under their system and under the public notice doctrine. So our grandfather clause of our tribal jurisdiction under Article 77 of the Iroquois Confederacy, the document has never been overturned. To overturn that, you have to overturn the entire constitution of the corporation. Under Article 77 of the Iroquois Confederacy, it gives us the right, if we grandfather in, to serve eviction on the corporation masquerading as our government, as a foreign body politic, is what it's called. A de facto corporation with the assumed jurisdiction while we learn to run government. We can run it now. They can go.
All right, the title to that, with that, my question is, okay, so we know that the federal government, pretty much with COINTELPRO, everybody know about COINTELPRO, there was some corruption along the lines with the federal government. Now, so in order to get justice from what the federal government did doing to our chiefs on the land, who do we go to if the federal government is the highest form of government on the land? I mean, like, besides the tribal government. Go ahead.
The tribal governments becomes the superior government when all of the tribes are competently notified about the change in jurisdictional supremacy. A traceable legal argument can be verified by any tribe that wants to verify that the Iroquois Confederacy was never overturned. It was just, we're not going to use this no more. Let's use this.
Mhm.
That grandfather clause to Article 77, we did that on your show
Yeah, we
when we
did.
read it into the public domain
Right.
to serve eviction on the corporation, which goes back to why we kept referring people to the Indigenous Rights Act
Right.
that let us know that our oral traditions are still valid. So you hear me all the time on here, different shows saying that I follow the oral tradition so we can assume a superior jurisdictional position over the corporation.
Mhm.
We have to keep going over this until it click for the critical mass of awareness among the tribes.
Mhm.
So we keep going over information and we keep telling them over and over because putting it in the public domain is the oral tradition of the tribal people of the land.
Mhm.
So the more we can inform them, right, the more they can become aware that they can stop entertaining the corporation so that it can go ahead and die,
Mhm.
right? And the person or the character tasked with the announcement is 45,
Mhm.
right? Remember, I told you, I said, I don't care about him one way or the other,
Mhm.
but I know what he's doing.
Mhm.
The same with Kamala. Her job is to fail miserably, whore Babylon.
Right. She doing it. So trust and
Right.
believe.
Yeah. And Queen Candace Owens is making so she help it. The Candace Queens, the only people that the Romans feared. Come on now.
Right.
All of the history is playing out at the close of the age in reverse.
Mhm.
So we go back to King George, was because George Herbert Walker Bush in 1990, you can go get the Behold a Pale Horses in there,
Mhm.
passed the law with a Senate Select Committee that he handpicked. And the law made him, in effect, King George the First of the United States Corporation.
Wow.
And then he had to send us off 3 massive warnings that he was about to make his move to take over. It's called 3 knocks.
Mhm.
World Trade Center, Federal Building, Oklahoma City, World Trade Center.
Mhm.
The World Trade Center was hit twice because that's called the Gemini effect,
Right.
right? In the Federal Building in Oklahoma City, that was the 2-ball cane. That's the ball swinging
Mhm.
from one pillar to the next.
Mhm.
It's all symbolism in the secret societies, and we had to educate ourselves into the different forms of education until we can plainly see it enough to explain it to common people
Mhm.
so we can reclaim the government or the role of government, right? We can't reclaim the role of government and the people want to entertain the shenanigans of the political theater.
Mhm.
And this is why they keep trying to get everybody to vote, knowing that the vote does not elect the president. Never, it haven't elected the president since the
Right.
advent of the Electoral College.
Right.
And they
Right.
know who's going to be voting, but you don't. They know who they going to vote for, but you don't. They only trying to rally the votes, excuse me, to see who it is that has the influence to round up enough people to float their system another 4 years.
Go ahead. That's
If
right.
you have the pool, but you don't understand the failure of their system, you gonna participate in the shenanigans, and they gonna know we ain't ready.
Mhm. I got 2 questions for you, man. The first question I got for you to tie in with this tape is that people say that Big Meat shouldn't be mentioned with Larry Hoover, Jeff Ford, and Dr. Malachi Z York. And he got a Big Meat got RICO too, But could you break down so because people don't think that Big Meech was a tribal leader, and
Look,
so different
so
perspectives on that. But could you break down why Big Meech is being mentioned in the same sentence with Larry Hoover and Jeff Ford, who are all pretty much victims? Even Big Meech is a victim of this system because the CIA is the one that was bringing the shit. Well, George W. Bush now. So could you
mhm.
go in on that a little bit about why we mentioned Big Meech as part of
we
the? Go ahead.
okay, so we track the chiefs as they grow up on the land by what they develop into as an adult. We won't know them until we see their works. The critical thing that Big Meech was doing that nobody else on the land was doing, which tells us who he is he was teaching the young men how to live with money. And when you have wealth, how are you supposed to treat other people? This was part of his routine. Then this is why it was took them so long to get him, because they had a structure to how they was learning to live with money, so that the money can never be used as the tool to tear down what he's building. Right? And he got the blood of the people from the land. So when we put the two together, because he have the blood, because he raised himself up first, and then he reached back for his brothers, for I am my brother's keeper, right? He's showing that he's doing the function of a chief that was given a purpose that we didn't even know was needed until he performed it, right? So he was teaching those boys how to treat the women when they got the wealth. They wasn't doing freak off parties like Diddy. They probably been to some Diddy parties though, some of them, right? But the whole thing being is what he was teaching them. We still need a teacher that effective that can perform that function, take away the criminal element, right? But the person that's creating the crime always gonna know who to get because they're gonna watch their performance. Their performance is gonna tell the system operators this is a potential chief. Activate COINTELPRO. The
Right.
COINTELPRO records, they kept records. It ain't like they don't have records. And they have names that was on the list of potential leaders. They
Hey,
not gonna bring none of his attorneys is gonna bring this up because it'll spoil the entire system.
yeah, they said they had a book. Man, they said they went in this library with the killer clowns where they got all their records at. They said they had a book. One dude said they had a book on the Moors. They had every single thing you could think of. Anybody ever mentioned the word Moor, they got a main platform. They had them in this book. They had every organization, everything that they teach. And then they had another book with Tupac, full of everything Tupac and the Black Panthers. Then they had another book on Tookie Williams and the Crips. I mean, these people got a whole library on us. That's what that dude Dart Hart Perry said. That they got more information than regular than anybody else about us.
Look, when you pull the COINTELPRO documents is thousands of pages by itself. And those documents had mentioned other documents within them. Normally they redact them with a black ink so that you won't say, okay, now that I got this, what about Operation Mockingbird? Right? What about Operation Plaster Falcon? Right? All these other government secret programs. Remember, everything they did in secret. And everything we do out in the open, in the public domain for the benefit of the most people. So the Freedom of Information Act was the catalyst to exposing everything they was doing. They can only keep something secret for a certain period of time, and then it has to be made accessible to public for inspection under the Freedom of Information Act. We know that in Chicago that it was at least 400 names of potential leaders listed under the COINTELPRO document, because it say that the COINTELPRO was watching for 400 select individuals in the city of Chicago, right in the paperwork. So we know that it was 400 people, right? And they kept the list of names. We know Larry name on there, Angel Bay, David
Therefore,
Barksdale, Shorty Freeman, all they
no,
names on there. Booney Black, right?
Freddie P.
All
Hampton.
yeah, Fred Hampton was he was a classic example of when the government panic, what they do to silence you. He was on a mission to unite all the clans, right? We reconstitute under community organizations. The government can't tolerate us reconstituting tribal systems under their jurisdictional domain because it threatens their power structure. Therefore, anybody that's putting together an organization using the traditional tribal methods is slated for criminal persecution and prosecution, if not death. Right? Normally, they send some of the dirty Moors in to murder the most powerful of the leadership, because they can't lead that up to Paleface, because they have to give us a reason to discover that we ain't fighting Paleface. If every time we got ready to take over or make a monumental move, Paleface stepped in and executed us, then we wouldn't know who we was fighting. Right? But once you look back on history, hindsight is 20/20. Anybody that can't see that it's been some niggas holding us back the whole time is blind and don't know their own culture.
Hey, the next question I got for you, Rod, that I seen that that this RICO is United States corporation, and a lot of it is based on codes, them breaking codes and acts. It's acts and codes. It's not really technically law outside of United States. But I noticed that they filed for their company to reestablish their company in Puerto Rico. And do you think that's a connection between them calling it the RICO and that they corporation is filed in Puerto Rico? Is there a connection there?
Yep, it's a connection. Pirates of the Caribbean, Skull and Bones. It's the signature of George Herbert Walker Bush and the Skull and Bones Society, because Puerto Rico was the first island that the Spanish used to stockpile the gold that they stole from us from over here before they went back to Europe to pay for their restitution to the Catholic Church. Right? So the Pirates of the Caribbean is when Puerto Rico was the rich port, or the port of riches, where you put your riches at as a pirate, and we have it heavily surrounded, and that's why cannons are on all corners of Puerto Rico.
Wow, okay, go ahead. I've been there. I've seen that.
Right? Then when you go to the fact that Puerto Rico is still not officially a state, but the corporate charter for the Federal Reserve is in Puerto Rico. Let that sink in.
That's good stuff right there. That's good stuff.
Okay, so Puerto Rico is the pirates' control of the wealth. The pirates are the conquistadors and the Huguenots. The Huguenots is the French version of the conquistadors. Right? And they had different names for the English. Well, I think they was called merchant seamen. Right? When they first came over here, they was all melanated, but the history books been whitewashed to give you the illusion that the pale face is the person who's doing the dirt when Elijah told us Yaqub left niggas in charge. The Barbary Wars, yeah, the Barbaries were Etruscans, right? This is where you get your term barbarian from.
Harry nigga.
Yep. But they was fighting the hairy Europeans, who later became classified as Barbary out of the Barbary Wars. But they wasn't the ones that was the Barbary first. Because it's misdirection, right? It's the shell game. Everything that they did, they tried to push it off on the pale face so that the ones of us that's the earthborn that belong here won't never see their dirty black hands at play. Right? So as long as we don't see who it is, we can't properly mount a defense. Once you know who it is and you know that it was about who can educate themselves high enough to see the deception, then you understand how they was playing the game. They was using murder that was a violation of the ceasefire agreement. But we was allowed to use self-defense. And that's why most cities, they used to have a self-defense law, but they took it off the books.
Mm-hmm.
You can't defend yourself. Let that nigga kill you now.
Damn. Hey, Rod, I got a serious question for you, man, because I just thought about it. Now, because this ties in with Doc and Angel Bay, or in their case, when I'm looking into their case. I see that they try to tie them in with a foreign government. They try to tie Doc in with a foreign government, and they try to use this as a terrorist tactic. They did the same thing with Jeff, where they tried to tie him in with, like it was Libya, so that he was getting money from them. So what is the with the RICO and things? What is the connection with trying to tie you into a foreign government so they can say that you're a terrorist? What is, you got anything on that?
So remember, they Farrakhan too. Gaddafi tried to give Farrakhan some money. What did they tell him? Remember what they told him?
Right. They said if you take that money, you're gonna be an enemy of the United States, and they say that or something like that. To that,
they said they didn't have no problem with him getting the money, but he had to register as a foreign agent.
Okay, go ahead.
Operating in the United States.
Go ahead.
Right? That would immediately put him at odds with the corporation because we already foreign to the corporation on our own land.
Go ahead.
If you let it be known in the public that you foreign to the corporation then can actively pursue war tactics to bring you down, as they did with Malachi.
That's right. And Jeff Ford.
Yep. Jeff Ford was set up by the CIA.
Yep. With a rocket launcher.
They all of that was orchestrated by the United States, including the meeting facilitated with the Libyan assets. Was all orchestrated by the CIA with the intent to charge Jeff.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
They already knew what his views was because it's cassette tapes to this day in Chicago floating around of him speaking.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so now all they have to do is facilitate a connection that they can use as a means to prosecute and persecute the man as a criminal, even though he in state system, he in the federal governmental system.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And they came in and with cold crackers.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They put cold crackers on there to try to figure out how to make code out of the things he was saying.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so they made, whether it was code or not, I don't believe it was code. I think they used the cold crackers to create a common theme in the conversation by things that they classified as code words so that they can paint the narrative that they was talking in code.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's using it in reverse, right, to establish something that you're trying to establish.
Mm-hmm.
So the CIA asset, all he got to do is allow Angel Bay people to make the connection with the Libyan people, and he ain't never got to be seen,
Mm-hmm. Damn.
right? So they facilitate the link up, and when the link up take place, then the FBI come in and sell them some bum rocket launchers.
That's right.
And now they can bring them all down as this terrorist cell. When all of the time Angel Bay is supposed to be on the streets lobbying the tribes in order to overthrow the system, and they knew
Right.
this.
Right. Right. Another thing too, I saw they did with Jeff is that once they got him on that on when he in prison when they was running this when he locked
But
up when they
yeah, the whole thing was done while he was already in federal prison.
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying, man. I know that with Larry, I know that they got him for so it's like this. How can you get around that when Jeff they say, oh, he the leader of the Police Stones, or he the leader of these guys, and like the Meanham brothers wasn't banging them but more science. They had fezes and shit on, you know. And so you already know the game, you know what I'm saying? Going back with Noble Drew Ali. But my question for you is how do we retract and get justice for the racketeering itself, because they said that okay, Doc was money. Like I looked up the racketeering and saw what all covers. It's a whole bunch of shit that can cover under that. But one thing they tried to go out there and said that he was money laundering. Now I said to myself, in order to be money laundering, you got to have some making money a criminal way and then try to clean that money up, right? So, Doc had a lot of books. He was selling his books. And they tried to say that Doc was he was late on his taxes or something. Come to find out, he overpaid his taxes. So I'm still trying to figure out how was they able to RICO him with they didn't even have no RICO case really. They didn't even have nothing on this guy. Like, what did they have on him besides what the crimes that people that was a part of his organization, like Damian Pryor and Lopez and Jacob York and these guys, they got shit on these guys. They didn't have nothing on Doc. They didn't like Big Meech. They didn't even see Big Meech never selling no dope. They even said it. They admitted to it. They said we ain't never seen him selling no dope. We just saw him count money and like
flashing.
Yeah, and flashing. We ain't never seen him do no legal activity, but make money.
So look.
Go ahead.
You gotta remember, the only thing that RICO has to do is establish you had an enterprise. That's racketeering right there. If the enterprise is not under the control of the U.S. government, it's automatically classified as a criminal activity.
Wow.
The only remedy we really have is enough of the tribes people to become aware of the fraud. And when we hit critical mass, nature takes its course and corrects everything. Right? We almost if we ain't at critical mass, we damn close, because the theater that's playing right now in the public as politics and entertainment is all mirroring what we already seen. Right? Diddy Red House mirroring Baba on the Blue House. Right? Diddy was doing Diddy stuff, and you have to have the innocent fall in order to keep the guilty afloat. If the innocent begin to be seen, then the wicked begins to fall. This balancing of the scales. So when you speak up for the one who was doing the righteous work, and then you don't say nothing at the fall of the one that was doing the dirt, it balances it out. I don't have nothing to say about nobody that fall. I got something to say about everybody that's been done wrong. Right? So when we looking at, it's so much stuff going on, like the using the cover of the storm to cause mass casualty events, right? That's not new, but we have to see everything we've seen going in that we see coming out. But it's the mirror flip. It's the same but different. And it tells you the length of the cycle when you see it. That's why you have to be perceptive of the symbolism of the event, of the character being played, and the story that's being woven, because now you can see where you at coming out of a cycle, right? So we had to close out the old age in order to initiate the new age, right? We do certain stuff that's unorthodox in order to put the word in the public domain, right? When I was making that video about the duress defense for Larry, right? That was called a catalyst event because nobody's ever brought it up in court that he was holding the position as the leader of the gangster disciples under duress the whole time. Pull up duress defense. That's what you do. Because once you understand how it works, I can't kidnap your child and say, if you don't rob that bank, I'm going to kill your child. And then when you get caught and they find out that you done it to save your child's life, they can't prosecute you for that. That's, you did something against your will. You was forced into doing something nefarious in order to save somebody else. That's part of self-defense, the right to protect yourself and others.
Hey, I got another question for you, Raw. Because I'm writing them down as we go. Do you believe, because Johnny Cochran, he was able to get Geronimo Pratt, I think, off because they had the FBI COINTELPRO had knew that he wasn't in that city during the time of that robbery or whatever, or what it was. And so Johnny Cochran was able to get him out, I think. Now,
it took 27 years.
Yeah, he did 27 years, and they found out that he was innocent. Now
they knew he look. They
government.
knew look. This is why Johnny Cochran took the case pro bono for 27 years. Johnny Cochran was his defense attorney at trial. Geronimo Pratt was set up because he was coming to teach the tribes how to protect themselves using military strategies that he learned in the military.
Right.
He said his elders sent him to California to teach them. He didn't even want to go. But he went because his elders sent him, because he had a tribal skill that the other people in the tribe needed. The police committed the crime that Geronimo Pratt was accused of. They knew this because it was a joke in the sheriff's department, because they were sheriffs, they wasn't police. And it was like a locker room joke about how they set up Geronimo Pratt. And it ended up leaking out of the locker room into the lawyer circles that got back to Johnny Cochran while Geronimo Pratt was fighting this case. So now they locked Geronimo Pratt up. They didn't care about how long they kept him in there. They just wanted to prevent him from teaching and training them tribes this military stuff before they can have an opportunity to plant those seeds of dissension and make those colors clash.
With the Crip and the Blood stuff.
Yep.
Hey, another thing.
So,
do you? Oh, go. Finish what you're saying.
So when you look and you read the description of Geronimo Pratt case, go back and read the description of Big Tookie case. It's going to look like you're reading the same case. And I'm gonna let that stand where it's at.
Yeah, I'm gonna go check that out, man. When I'm doing the collations, because I'm doing Young Elders Law School, man. Y'all check out that playlist, Young Elders Law School, man. We breaking stuff down. This is my next. I mean, this is part that go with that same question. Do you believe the government took Johnny Cochran out because he was working with,
Yeah,
he got,
they use
OJ,
they use what's called microwave technology, a beam microwave. And every time he came out of chemo, they hit him with it again to make sure that the chemo don't work.
right? I believe that too. With Rod Kardashian too, I believe with Kim Kardashian that he's working with that on that same case. He died a similar way as Johnny. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
My next question I got for you, Rod, is on the RICO. I noticed when I started breaking down the RICO and studying it, that even if you found innocent after the fact, so like we wasn't get Baba out, and because we got all this evidence already, but when we was get Baba out, they still keep the shit, keep the proceeds and all his land. So how did that work? How does that work? How did they do? I'm innocent. You robbed me, and I just got to bite that after the
Because
fact.
in their system, even if they took something from you, and you get found later on, your case get overturned. They say he was guilty. He just got it overturned on technicality, so we still ain't gonna give him his stuff back.
Damn, these suckers is great crooks. I mean, they hide. I mean,
If we can't see the crookedness of the system, we just totally blind to it. A lot of people is so accustomed to the uniformity of it in the way that it flows that they think is legitimate. Police wear uniforms, the firemen wear uniform, the police, the dog catcher wear a uniform, the mailman wear a uniform, right? It's the uniform system. The uniform system is derivative of the uniform commercial code, right? In the uniform commercial code, it makes mention of the corporation's employees being dressed in a uniform manner in order that they may be recognized, right? If they're not in uniforms, you don't recognize them as part of the corporation. Therefore, you don't honor their jurisdiction, right? If they told you that if you was coming from a different city, you had to check in with the chief of police in the city you go to, nobody wouldn't put up any resistance. But if they tell you to check in with the check-in chief, everybody think you up to some shenanigans. But the check-in chief was the legitimate person responsible for your welfare once you enter into the new city. But we don't remember the culture, so we look at that as being belligerent because it's not sanctioned by the uniform system.
hey, so with this Diddy thing, do you think they just trying to the Rico Diddy to rob him, pretty much rob him? They don't give a damn if he innocent or not. Half of the shit, I believe, like half of the stuff, or kick Rod off. I believe half of the stuff that I wonder why Raw he started doing something and then Raw got kicked out. Maybe he'll come back in. Let's see. It was doing some weird stuff. But hey, look, they go Raw right there. Hey, Rod, I
Yeah.
wonder if with the Diddy thing, right? Do you think they're just trying to rob Diddy? Because it's a lot of stuff they saying, like the baby oil and this and that. Like they don't even like some people say, oh, it wasn't baby oil, it was some kind of drug, but they promoting the baby oil thing, and they say, oh, he got guns with serial numbers fried off. I don't believe it because I mean, Diddy got too many people around him that's legit that he can pay to be armed. So like to have it's like a lot of stuff I think they just threw in there to promote in the media COINTELPRO tactics to say, oh yeah, he had guns and baby oil. You know what I'm saying? And then I think it's a black hand trying to rob this brother. I mean, even though we know Diddy might have been doing his freak offs and nasty parties, I'm talking about. I think this overall is the government, these black hand laws of London. He did piss somebody off that's at their high table, or and they trying to just rob this brother using the RICO, man. You know, what you think, Rod?
As long as it bring down Clive Davis, Jimmy Iovine, Larry Cohen, all other them rotten ass executives,
Right.
his purpose is served no matter what they doing.
I feel you on it. I like
That's
that.
why he said, I run this city. Tell the cops, DA, the feds, come get me. And if you try to leave me for dead, you coming with me. Because that's their MO.
Right.
We forget about it was a brother from Wisconsin back in the 80s who this is the origin of Pizzagate, by the way. It was a brother who was a speaker. I think it was the Democratic Convention, like 83, 84, and he was a child trafficker. And he was using political connections to funnel children, little boys specifically, into DC for those politicians to have those illicit parties with $5,000 hot dogs and $2,000 slices of pizza. Right? The code was revealed in the Barack Obama administration, and because they were still using the lingo that the FBI was following. This is why the Hillary Clinton emails, the Podesta files, and the Hunter Biden emails were so critical to the fall of the deep state in DC, because all of their codes is on there. And a lot of that stuff is on the dark web, and some of it is even on the regular web in the public domain. Some of her emails, like the Benghazi situation, where her and Barack Obama was deciding whether they was going to do something or not. He ended up going to a fundraiser and she ended up going to a book signing or some dumb shit like that. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was something as simplistic as that, while you got a whole U.S. embassy under attack.
Hey, Rod, my next question I got for you is diplomatic immunity, because this ties into what Doc case and things and other. I'm just looking into that diplomatic immunity.
Right.
With diplomatic immunity, how does that work? Like with the RICO and in connection with the U.S. Corps, like where people can't be tried for certain crimes over here. Like what immunity do you have as a diplomat over here under the in U.S. Corps system? Go ahead.
A diplomat pretty much have a free pass in a foreign land to commit whatever crimes they want to. Right. But the problem is certain diplomats can be kidnapped by the host state, and the host state can put up a prolonged resistance to the international claim of diplomatic status and say that we don't know nothing about it, what they call plausible denial. So the host state would be like, I didn't know he was no diplomat. What are you doing over here if he a diplomat? Without me knowing. They was like, well, you got all the paperwork. I don't got no paperwork. But all the time they got the paperwork. They know who he is. They know where he at. They know what he doing. They know what he ain't doing.
Damn.
Right? Now remember, as an organic to this land, even if you get diplomatic status somewhere else, you still classify under the United States corporate as the enemy of the state.
Right.
Because the state itself is the enemy because it's de facto. Anybody that's de jure, which is a lawful heir to the land, walking around on the land, is an enemy to the de facto corporation because they have jurisdictional right at any given time to read Article 77 of the Iroquois Constitution, grandfathered in, and cancel the Constitution of the United States and close the corporation because we know how to run government now. Anybody that get close to that, like Malachi was so close to it, all he had to do was turn around and trip over a law book, and there it is in his face. Right? And now, because of what he had built up, he had the capability of exercising the jurisdictional supremacy and putting in the public domain Article 77 of the Iroquois Confederacy and canceling out their rights to do business on the land for violating all of their treaties, violating the rights of the organic people of the land, violating the treaty agreement not to cross the Appalachians, and all of that.
That's right.
Everything they did was a fraud on us. Fraud vitiates or cancels or nullifies all contracts. And their whole contractual system was predicated upon the discovery doctrine. The imbecility was predicated upon papal bulls, right? The only way to prove otherwise is to assume your proper person or your proprietary persona and assert your jurisdictional claim in the public domain as the pretender to the throne. And as you go about informing the people of who you are and what you're doing, you garner support of the organic tribes who recognize the tribal tradition of the grid to tell the stories of what happened to the people of the land and why they ain't got their proper just on their own land. Because you have a foreign corporation masquerading as your government, a certain jurisdiction over you, because you don't know that the proper jurisdiction of authority lies with the tribes, and therefore you don't support the tribes because the government told you they was gangs. And they vilified the word gang and implied criminal activity when the word gang is another word for tribe, and they don't tell you that part in order to keep you deceived into thinking that the tribes is criminals for tribing on the land, right? Which goes back to the commission of the government of the corporation to put bounties for our scalps. They wasn't looking for straight hair. They was looking for wool.
Right, go ahead.
Originally, they was taking our heads, but it was taking up too much space in their trading stations when they was cashing in for the people of the land that they killed. Go back to the vile and bloody oath of the papacy, right? It say the agreement was to kill the kings, the princes, and the people of the land. Why would they do that? That's the only way you can claim the land is the rightful heirs to the land has to either acquiesce, surrender, give up, which we ain't gonna never do, or you have to win it by conquest and assert your proper claim at the close of the age. They fail to state a proper claim that's superior to the jurisdiction of the tribes. So now you go back to the FEMA continuity of government document. FEMA don't work for the U.S. no more. They work for the tribes. They can't be activated until the tribes activate them. But they keep putting all of this dirt on the name FEMA under the pretense of failure to perform so that they can say that the tribes is not ready to receive government back because they can't even run FEMA.
Damn. Hey, I got another question for you, Rob. We're gonna get ready to get off. We got about we'll just do it for about 2 hours. We got about less than 20 minutes. But I'll ask you this question. Now, I did some research on sovereignty, and I hear people. I used to hear back in the day when I was in moral science class with under brother Joe Ells Bay. He used to tell me, man, don't call yourself sovereign. Don't call yourself sovereign. I used to hear him say that, but I never did really just look into it until just recently on really understanding what sovereignty was about. And because I hear people say, oh, we organic to the land, we sovereigns, or this and that, right? So I looked at the word sovereign and come to find out it's a legal fiction. It only exists inside of U.S. courts. The sovereign, it only exists inside of the system. As you only can be a sovereign in the system. Like outside of the system, there's really no such thing. Besides, now, then the other thing too, and I'm gonna let you respond. the organic people thing. Cause I hear people say, "Oh, we organic people." When I went to go look up organic people on international files, there's no such thing as an organic people. It only say indigenous people rights, or indigenous this. It don't say nothing about organic. It never even mentions the word. Only time it mentions the word organic is talking about vegetables. Now it could be some higher axiological thing connected with people and vegetables. I can get into that, but I'm saying they only, when they in the court files, they only refer to, when you say on that, when I look up the word organic, it only comes up as plants and vegetables. As far as like stuff on agricultural violations, there's never a mention of organic as far as a people. The only word they mention of they mention the word natural in a certain way, but it was really indigenous is the word they use a lot. So what's your take on the sovereign being a legal entity? Because they say that sovereignty is a legal entity, a legal fiction, and a fiction is, it's made up shit, artificial. Go ahead.
If you go to Google and type in sovereign law, it's going to tell you that it's the law that's by royalty. The sovereign is the royalties of any land, and they identify under the Uniform Commercial Code as being outside of the jurisdiction of the codes. When you go to the laws that the American corporation follow, they follow the United States codes, right? You have to get out of the jurisdiction of the codes and the statutes. Statutes are underneath the codes. Statutes is the Chevron doctrine. It's the corporate's body able to issue statutes in order to govern its internal workings. We've been classified as the internal mechanisms under the statutes that they govern by being citizens. Citizen is, you have to be registered as a citizen in order for the corporation to have jurisdiction over you. You don't register to be a sovereign. You born sovereign, owing no debts, right? And having no debts owed to you, right? But when you in your sovereign capacity, you can operate from a position called universal law, which overrides contract law. You can't exercise universal law until you figured out how to become a sovereign or a royal persona in order to issue edicts. And you have to issue the edict from a superior legal jurisdiction, as in the case of natural law, which is the laws of nature, and universal law that applies beyond the earth. Once you operating from universal law, now you operating from fifth dimensional mind matrix, the spirit realm, because you outside of what the naked eye can see with universal law. It also is the laws, what we call hermetic laws or hermetic principles, are universal laws. Wherever you go as a three-dimensional being, the three-dimensional construct will apply until you learn how to apply a superior jurisdiction or a higher construct of laws, as in the case of universal law, right? Complements natural law, but it's belligerent to contract law. The laws of nature is belligerent to contract law because most of the nature. So when we talking about sovereign capacity, we talking about the capacity as a royal persona to issue edicts from the position of a power seat or throne. When you talk about organic, it's a new term. So it won't be quantified by the old system. When you're making a reference to the organic people, you're making a reference to the people that was there from the onset, uninterrupted in the steady flow of genetic inheritance from mother to daughter, mitochondrial LAC-Z gene, the immortal gene. So now when you say organic, that means you emerge like the vegetables, like the trees from the ground that which you walk, this holy ground. And this is why all our ancestors are buried here, because this has been sacred land for us since this was Atlantis.
Hey, so the American Indians would be GMO, and we would be the organic, and they would be GMO. The American Indians, they genetically modify. Hey, this is the next question I got for you, Rod. We almost out of time. Hey, y'all hit that like, hit that subscribe button if you want to show brother Rod Hayes some love on the Cash App. I dropped in the links for the people that was asking about it. They said somebody said that Rod, they sent you some money, but you didn't accept it, so it didn't go through. So you like,
I get shadow banned on Cash App too.
yeah, me too. So
So if people be messaging me talking about, did you get the money I sent you? I don't know. I can go look, but a lot of times I get it. A lot of times, sometimes I don't. Like I don't let nothing just sit there and don't respond to it.
Yeah.
That means that they had to either went to the wrong Cash App or Cash App put it on the back burner.
Hey, this is what I got for you, Rod. This is a powerful question right here, man, because we're dealing with jurisdiction, and we're dealing with wars of the state, and we're dealing with federal jurisdiction, state jurisdiction. We know that. So, what gives them jurisdiction over you, and how deep does this jurisdiction thing go, man? Because if you under federal jurisdiction, state jurisdiction, U.S. corps, I mean, how do we get around this jurisdiction thing? Do we unplug?
The only way around it, the only way around it is for us to go back to the tribal traditions, grandfather us in, and use a superior jurisdiction that brings their corporate system to an end. Because until we in power, they in power. And as long as they in power, they gonna torture us every chance they get.
I noticed some too, Raw. There's another question tying in with that question. I noticed that back because you said that all crimes were commercial, so I did research on it and did a tape on it called Crash Course on Commercial Crimes. Y'all want to go check that tape out on the video side. I said that all crimes commercial. So technically, a state court is not. It's technically not supposed to be dealing with subject matters when it come down to commercial crimes. But I think this what's happening is based on my research is that we don't know, so we just going in there and let them proceed with whatever they got going on, and it's pretty much criminal enterprise. Because we don't know, we just go in there and let them proceed and don't challenge jurisdiction on subject matter. Like the first thing you're gonna challenge jurisdiction on subject matter because he can't even hear this. This magistrate can't even hear this subject matter because this is not even the proper venue for the subject matter. So,
but that's a whole what's it called voir dire in court, where you have to stand there and banter back and forth legalese to the judge. And this is why most of us don't challenge jurisdiction, because they have so many means by which to deceive you into accepting a jurisdiction, right? If they arrest you for a crime, what's the first thing they do in the courts?
adjudicate. They're supposed to give you an indictment. They're supposed to give you an indictment.
When they first take you into the court, look, the police arrest you, take you down, fingerprint.
A hearing.
What kind of hearing?
Bail hearing. Is it a bail hearing?
It's called arraignment.
Arraignment, yeah, arraignment. Go ahead.
Okay. In the Michigan court rules, this thing that they doing is called joinder of the parties for civil action. Their whole system is predicated upon financial distribution of the trust. When they say all crimes are commercial, they mean they all have a monetary value to the judiciary. Right?
What they call it a charge.
Right. So the charge is a financial instrument. Just like they go to they got a price tag on stuff in the store, And when you get to the register and ring it up, they tell you what your final charge is. That's what they do in court when they give you all them count 1 through 99.
Go ahead.
And you get convicted on count 1, 12, 13, 14, 22. So you get convicted on 5 different counts. It reduces your overall charge when you cash out at the sentence. It's trickery in the first degree.
I'm telling you, this is crooks like no other, boy. You if you ain't up on the game, like Mark Brady used to say, man, you go in their courts and you ain't up on the game, you about to get served. You about to get served, man. And
So
then
look,
go ahead.
their system is in the Bible under the tribes of Judah and tribes of Levi. Their system is a levy and lien system. Levy is spelled Levi, which is the tribe of Levi. Lien is an anagram for enlil, right? So when they telling you whose system it is, you have no clue what they talking about. So how do you expect to defend yourself when they talk an entirely different language? All of the judges have to be accepted as an honorary member of the tribe of Judah. Because in the court setup that they give them is right there in the Bible. It's Leviticus and Judges, I believe. They tell them exactly how to set their system up. Right? That's part of their commission from Rome, because you got to remember, the Bible was not put together in America. It wasn't put together in the Middle East. It was put together in Rome. And they use different source information of the day. The Acts of the Apostles in the so-called Gospels are excerpts from a play written by a guy named Josephus Flavius. Josephus Flavius studied the first century Christian philosopher named Origen in order to create a story that became the controlling narrative of the Roman Empire in order to reach into the future. You have to go back to why Constantine said he's establishing the church to understand that it was a tool of control to begin with. And that if the judicial system is set up like in the Bible, that means it was set up by Romans. So the Old Testament was written after the New Testament to create a backstory, right? And they had different writers who was writing all of this stuff in order to give it what they call optimum effect.
Yeah, they stole the Samaritan tablets and a book of ancient Egyptian Book of the Dead. They plagiarized those books to create that backstory.
Yeah, the Jesus story is in the Holy Drama as the rise of Isis and Horus, the return of the rightful heir to overthrow his uncle. Go back to Noble Drew Ali. He say, be careful because your uncle will sell you into slavery. It's in the oral statements and prophecy. What is he talking about? Right? And I think Elijah Muhammad said something similar. They warning you about Enlil kids, the ones Yaqub left in charge, because he wasn't going to see his creation through. And how he going to make them to rule over you? By illusion. Right? And go back to the Rothschild, make everybody a worker doctrine, where he tell you about the harsh treatment, the same thing that is saying in other documents. They all tie together.
Hey, bro, this is the last question, and this is a powerful question because I'm gonna be talking about this too. I just want to hear what you got on it. Now, I noticed too in this system, you know, they pull you in this artificial system, but to do it, most time they need you to sign your life away. They need you to agree. about like, because I know when you join the Masonic Lodge, they say, do you come on your own free will? When you join all these other satanic organizations, you come on your own free will. Now with the signature, and because they I noticed their whole system is based on contracts, and they got to get you to agree, whether it's verbally, which is a verbal signature, or they got to get you to sign your name. How important, or how do we avoid their system as far as the signature, and how's our signature? What do you got on the signature thing? Because I noticed that's how they pull us into this system with our signature.
How do you make a deal with the devil?
Sign on the dotted line. You know what I'm saying?
It answers itself. Because if the devil needs your consent to do devilishment to you, when you sign on the dotted line, anything he do to you is under your own free will. Because you signed the papers to prove it.
Yeah, so most of them brothers, go ahead. Most of them brothers that be going to court, man. Like I remember my cousin when he came down here from New York, right? He was from New York, and he had been up in New York all his life. That was his first summer coming down here to Louisiana, right? And he was talking all this stuff, right? About about the court, all this stuff before I got on it, right? About the how it's all commercial and this and that, right? And what I was trying to figure out is, how can you, like, if you speak up for yourself and click your heels 3 times and all that, like even if you go to their systems, to their courts, and you know the game, how do you, and they don't listen to what you're saying, or they override what you're saying, or we ain't hear him, we ain't hear what he said, he challenged jurisdiction and all this, and how do you beat that? Like, how
Look,
do you get it?
you
Go
got to
ahead.
remember, you got to remember, they already hostile to you. You don't beat it.
Mm-hmm.
They gonna impose their will on you, but the thing is, later they gonna have to rectify it because you never consented or agreed to their jurisdictional authority, right? But you have to know what you're doing. Most of these people send people in the court half cop, and it blow up in their face.
Yeah. Facts.
You know, as long as their system is operational, they in power. We not in power until they system fall. Until they system fall, you just have to try to avoid them at all costs. And don't sign no contracts.
So technically, the people that's in Florence, Colorado, really are prisoners of war.
At 100%.
Yeah, Doc, J. Ford, they are prisoners of war.
Yeah, but
Even
you
El
got to
Chapo,
remember. But you got to also remember this. Just because they a prisoner of war, don't make them less of a prisoner. Right. So they not gonna give a prisoner of war any air for freedom, where he can continue whatever it is that they thought was belligerent to their system.
Right.
Their system is not designed to do anything for us. They told us that in the Dred Scott case.
Damn, that's a fact too. That's a fact.
So if they system, if we don't have any rights they bound to respect, then we have to come together in sufficient enough number to exercise our rights in unity to overthrow their jurisdiction. You have to overthrow the beast on top of you. You can't tickle his belly to get along with him because he don't understand that. All he understands is I'm gonna swallow you whole first chance I get. And that's how he try to maintain his illusion of power. The power comes from the consent of the collective. And as long as people participating in all of these psyops, like the political paradigm and the entertainment paradigm, and that's the number one thing trending, you ain't ready.
Right.
You ain't ready. You got a whole bunch of people talking about they want to be free, but they really not ready.
That's right, Rod. That's the truth.
Right. It's because if they was ready, they would realize that go home, sit down, take your ball and go home, you win. But they want to participate. They want to be in the middle of it. They want to referee the bullshit. I don't want to be nowhere near the bullshit. Right?
Man.
You can't referee between two shit slingers.
Right? You gonna get some shit
And
out of it.
expect to keep your clothes clean. You're gonna be smelled just as much like shit as the ones that were slinging at each other.
Yeah. That's funny.
You don't go into the bullshit arenas. But you can't tell us that because we love gossip too much. Gossip has more control over our community than actual news.
Yeah. Yeah.
In anything that's gossip worthy, we gonna ride that shit to the last juiciness is out of that gossip.
Right.
And then we're gonna bring it up when some new juicy gossip come up to remind us of it. Keep you in them cycles, feeding that energy so they can suck the loosh off you. Victim mentality. Long as you stay the victim or trying to victimize people, right? You can't oppress somebody, hold somebody down unless you down there with them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? You can't get from under the oppressor if you scared to get his shoes dirty.
Mm-hmm.
Because his uniform is cute.
Mm-hmm.
The uniform is verification of the fraud.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right, Robert. We got to be at the 2-hour mark, man. I'm about to take it, leg it down. Hey, but yeah, we're gonna come back, man. I'm gonna get more research on this and on the RICO, and we're doing other stuff, looking into all the Chiefs cases to see where the United States corporation did fraudulent, and we know it's fraudulent all over Docs, all over Larry and Jeff Ford case. We know they framed these guys. Everything is it's all like it's just simple, like it's just out there, like it's clear as day. You know what I'm saying? So we trying to just
Look,
get the public to see it. Go ahead.
look, if our rights mattered at all, it wouldn't be so many people innocent that they don't want to let out of prison, that they know is
Right.
innocent.
Right. Right.
It's a whole lot of people in prison and they believe because they there, you can't be innocent. That's not true. But I was locked up with a dude in the county. I think he was like 22 years old, and they pinned a 23-year-old murder based on the pistol he had. He couldn't have committed the murder. He wasn't born yet. They knew this. They knew he, even though he had the gun, he couldn't have committed the murder. He wasn't even born yet.
Damn.
But he stayed in there fighting that case almost 2 years before I left him there in Cook County.
God, oh boy.
They kept giving him continuances because they didn't want to address the issues, knowing that he's not possibly old enough to commit the murder.
Damn.
Well, rather than let him out, they philosophy was keep him off the streets long as you can.
So we can make some money.
So we can make some money.
Damn. Damn, that's cold, boy. All right, y'all. Hit that like, hit that subscribe button, man. We're gonna be back. We got more, man. Like I say, tune in every day, man. We got something coming out every day, brother. You know what I'm saying? We got something coming out every day. We non-stop action over here at Young Elder TV, man. We got more breaking news coming tomorrow, man. Stay tuned. You don't want to miss it. You know what I'm saying? Young Elder, Chief Skype 8 Pontiac at the Northgate, man. When we knock y'all, better bump straight, man. We out. Signing out. Hey, Roy, I'm gonna get with you tomorrow, Roy, on some more stuff I got tomorrow, man. Hey, peace and love to everybody throughout the balanced universe to all. Wadu.
Wadu.